I do believe we have a fun one for you today. I built this bar roughly about 5 years ago, and probably about a year ago I got an idea while drinking Miller High Life that it would be a cool thing to do to make a bar out of nothing but Miller High Life caps. This is my first time ever attempting to do something like this, so as you'll see in the video, I do make some mistakes along the way, but it wasn't too bad that the finished product wasn't excellent. Alright, let's get to it. My friend got me some of this window wrap. What I wanted to do is get some two-sided sticky tar stuff so that it would stick to the bar and also stick to the top of the wrap there. Come to find out, this top foil side does not peel off, so it is not two-sided sticky. So I was pretty frustrated, and I put another layer on it with the sticky side up this time. I did not video that, as you can see here. I crazy glued this to the bottom layer. It took me roughly 6 to 7 months to drink enough beer to get all these caps. And yes, I did drink every beer that I got these caps from. There is a total of 976 caps on this bar. This was by far the roughest part of the job. It's been sped up considerably, as you can see, but it took a long time. The main reason for putting the sticky tar sheets down first was to give these caps something to push into and keep them in place. That way when we pour the resin on it, they don't float to the surface. At the end of the bar is my crushed can chute. I have to cut a couple of caps down in order to accommodate for the opening of the chute. As you can see, it's not perfect, but it'll do. Next, I put the forms up to keep the resin on top of the bar. In hindsight, I probably should have used something other than wood, because the resin ended up sticking to it. You'll see that at the end of the video. For all the joints, I used a glue gun to seal it up, and it all worked out pretty well. This is the resin and hardener I use. They're both half gallons, which make a gallon, and I mix it off camera this time, but when I do the final 2 gallons, I'll show you how I mix it. The wife puts this down like this so that when I pour the resin in there, it doesn't go directly onto the caps and reduces the risk of them getting displaced or start to float. We just used the 1 gallon here, just enough to fill in the gaps between the bottle caps and just cover the top of them. And then we're going to let it sit and cure before we put the final 2 gallons on. reason for the heat gun here is to help pop any bubbles that come to the surface, and that way they won't be in the final product. It'll be more clear. What the wife is doing here is she's pushing on the bottle caps just to make sure that if there is any air trapped underneath them, that they can help escape, to try and keep them from raising at all. This is a rather long and arduous process, but it definitely pays off in the long run. Alright, the first pour is now complete. Now we are just going to wait till it cures. The bottle says 6 to 4 hours, but we decided to wait at least 24. There was one small section in the back left there by the can chute that wasn't quite sealed off, and we did lose some resin, but we were able to get it to stop leaking before we lost too much. So we cover it up so no trash or insects or anything can get onto it, and it's time to wait. So now it's the next morning, and as you can see, we did have a couple of caps rise up. To say that I was disappointed in the raising of these caps is an understatement. I was really disappointed. But out of the 976 caps that were on there, only like 7 or 8 of them raised up. And my wife kind of eased my mind, saying that it wouldn't be quite as noticeable once we put the final 2 gallons on the top, and I guess we'll see. It's a little bit colder today than it was yesterday, so we decided to put the hardener and the resin in that bath there to kind of heat it up a little bit. My wife didn't think it was going to take the full 2 gallons, so she had me mix 1 gallon at a time. But yeah, turns out we did end up using the whole 2 gallons. The instructions said to mix the hardener and the resin together for 6 minutes, or until the milky streaking dissipated. It took about 7 minutes, but I think I did a good job and got it as clear as I could. Give it one quick wipe down with the terry cloth to get any as much trash as we possibly can off before we start the second pour. I do highly recommend you wear some latex gloves when working with resin, because on the first day I did not, and I pretty much got it everywhere, so lesson learned. Pouring and working with the resin on the flat surface like this is oddly satisfying. Right about here, it's fairly evident that we are going to need the last gallon of resin, so while the wife works it and uses the heat gun, I am inside right now mixing the final gallon. You want to be very deliberate and slow with your actions when working with epoxy resin, as my wife told me, because the more aggressive you get with it, the more you increase your chances of getting air bubbles in it. There you have it. All the resin is poured, and I think as far as air bubbles, we did pretty good. And as you can see, my wife was spot on. The raised caps are nowhere near as pronounced as they were before we put that coat on there. So yeah, now we cover it again and wait. This is 2 days after the final pour because the temperature did get pretty low, and we wanted to make sure it cured all the way before we remove the forms. I have taken all the screws out of the forms, and we are about to start knocking them off. Like I said earlier, if I ever do something like this again, I definitely will not be using wood forms, because as you can see here, when the form comes off, a lot of the wood gets left on there and it causes a lot more work. Now I gotta figure out a way to get all of them wood chunks off the edges. So what I end up doing is getting my chisel and hammering the bulk of it off, being very careful to stay away from the very edge of the resin. And once I am satisfied with that I've gotten the majority off, I use my sander to get the rest of it off. Well, that is the end of part 1. Part 2 will be coming soon because this bar is not quite done yet, and I think you will like what I have in mind.